This is the Avionaut Pixel Pro 2.0, or the Pixel for short. And the Pixel, as well as Avionaut's other car seats, has a very unique insert that keeps the baby's head, neck and spine perfectly aligned. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Pixel's newborn insert and how to remove it bit by bit as the baby gets bigger. But before I do that, I just want to show you this car seat. This is an older seat that has a different insert with a wedge that goes under the baby's bottom and lower back. I've just taken the baby out of this car seat to show you what that wedge system looks like. So in this car seat, you've got a separate head insert, but then in the bottom here, you've got a wedge. And what that wedge does is make the bottom higher for a smaller baby. But at the moment, the back and head are completely flat and in one line. But as soon as you add the wedge, the bottom becomes flatter, but the position of the head doesn't change. I've just put the baby in without the wedge just to show how his back and head are nice and straight and his chin is off his chest. And I've now put him in with the wedge underneath, and you can see his bottom and his torso have been lifted up, but his head hasn't changed angles. So effectively what happens is, when the backrest is flat, it's like this. Baby's head is here and his body is here. But when you then add the wedge, you're lifting up the body, but the angle of the head doesn't change. And that makes his chin go down on his chest. And in very young babies, that can cause breathing difficulties. In the Avionaut seats, that doesn't happen because baby's head goes here and the baby's back goes there, and that angle never changes. But the way that the baby fits better in an Avionaut seat is because of this block. So instead of having a wedge that goes behind the baby's back, you've got a block that the baby sits on top of. I recently visited this family. They had contacted me because they felt that their new baby, who was only 3 weeks old, looked very uncomfortable in his car seat and they couldn't quite work out what was wrong. And it was exactly what we're talking about here, that the wedge was pushing up his body, but his head was still in the same position, effectively pushing his chin onto his chest. So when we then tried him in the Pixel Pro, you can see the difference. He looks much, much better, although not very happy because it was a very hot day and he didn't really want to be in the car seat. But it does very clearly show that his head, neck and spine are perfectly aligned. His body is in a good position with his chin off his chest. And that is how a baby should safely travel in a car seat. And when you see the two seats side by side, you can clearly see the difference. This baby doll is 40 centimeters, which is the height that these car seats are approved from. And I'm just going to show you now that the baby sits on top of this block. So you just put the baby in and he sits there like this, straps over the shoulders, and then the buckle, when it's done up, sits low down below the baby's bum, which looks a little bit strange when you're not used to it, but that is how these car seats are, because sitting on this block means that the baby's back, head and spine are in a very, very straight line. In most car seats, the baby sits in the bottom of the seat and the height is adjusted by making the shoulder straps go higher. I've now taken the inserts out of this car seat just to show you what happens. So it's currently in its lowest position and this is the next height up for when the baby is bigger. The Pixel is different. In the Pixel, the baby's head is always at the top and it's only got one harness height. And when the baby gets bigger, instead of taking the harness height up like you do in other car seats, in this seat, you make this block smaller. The block consists of two pieces in a slip like a pillow. So you take one of them out. That one is about 1/3 of the complete block. And this is 2/3 of the total block. So they sit on top of each other for a newborn. And then after a few months, when the baby has got a bit bigger, you take the smallest one away and you only use the biggest one. This insert also has reinforced sides for side impact protection and to keep a very small baby nicely cocooned in the seat. But as they get bigger and they get wider and they want to move their arms a bit more, you take those bits out. They just slip out of here. There are two quite hard blocks inside the insert on both sides. So you take those out to give a bigger baby a bit more room. I've now put this baby in. He is a little bit bigger than a newborn, so I've removed, as you saw a minute ago, the smallest part of the two blocks. The big one is still in. The side bits have been removed from here, so he's got more space. And then a few months later, when the baby has got too big for the biggest block, you take the big block out and swap it for the small one. You don't need to take this block out as early as you might think, because when you put them on top of each other like this, in that slip cover that I've just put away, it may seem like you've only got very short torso height, But this is made of memory foam, so as the baby gets bigger and heavier, this block will get squished down by the baby's weight, so you can actually leave these cushions in for longer than you might think. But eventually, you'll just end up with the smaller one. And then when the baby gets too tall for that, you remove the small one, and then you're just left with the main insert. So I've now taken both blocks out. So just to recap, you start with the complete block, then you only use the big one, then only the small one, and then you just remove the blocks altogether and only use the main insert. But when the baby is around a year old, that will also be too small. So that then comes out too. So the whole thing with the headrest, it's all one piece, is removed. And then an older child or an older baby can sit in the seat without any inserts at all. The person behind the camera filming this is my 16-year-old son Miles, and he has just come up with a perfect solution to stop a baby from crying. Although I don't recommend that you do this in real life. So this is how a bigger baby looks in the car seat without any inserts. The positioning of this car seat and the fact that the inserts keep the baby's head, neck and spine in a straight line has won Avionaut's car seats the approval of the German campaign for back health. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe and I'll see you soon. This is the